Hey everyone, welcome back. Hope you're having a fantastic day so far. So Americans are losing thousands of dollars in Social Security benefits. We're going to be covering 4 reasons why. Plus, Nikki Haley just said that there needs to be certain social media reforms and that TikTok even needs to be banned. We're going to be going over why she's saying that after numerous videos have come up actually in support of bin Laden's 9/11 attacks. And finally, Mike Johnson worked with Democrats to fund the government and not allow a government shutdown. So will he also be booted from his role, much like the former House Speaker and Kevin McCarthy was? We're going to be giving an update on that as well. But before we go ahead and dive into the main content of today's video, if you wouldn't mind helping me out real quickly by just giving this video a like, that just helps out with the good old YouTube algorithm, and also consider subscribing to my channel if you have not already. Okay, so diving into the first story for today, of course, yesterday there was a popular trend on TikTok, well, really over the past couple of days, and that was after a Guardian article from 20 years ago released the bin Laden's letter to America at that time. I guess it really wasn't that popular of an article at the time, but now suddenly it's popping up once again, especially after this war over in Israel with Hamas. So basically, a lot of people are reading this letter to America by bin Laden, and a lot of leftists are looking at this and saying, well, actually I can kind of see his point. I can see why they would have attacked the World Trade Center. I can see why they could potentially attack a lot of these US civilians. So they're actually kind of sympathizing with bin Laden in this letter and saying, I can actually see why they would do that, because of course our Western ideals are completely evil. And because of this, of course, we now have Nikki Haley saying there needs to be some type of social media reforms, that we need to make sure that these videos are being taken down, that they're not being spread to the masses, and that TikTok should be a banned platform. So according to The Hill, former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley cited a decades-old letter from Osama bin Laden that recently went viral in a call for social media reform on Thursday. She said, quote, "When you look at social media, I have long said that we have to ban TikTok. And if you didn't know why, there's another example today." She went on to say that they are posting letters of Osama bin Laden's letter this week after the 9/11 attack, and it is the justification for why he did it. And so you have a lot of our kids sitting there siding with that, oh, America deserved it at that time. Bin Laden's 2002 letter to America, which was published nearly a year after the September 11th attacks, has recently made the rounds online. The letter attempted to justify the killing and targeting of American civilians. Many videos showed support for the Al-Qaeda leader's argument and suggested to others that they read the letter following the U.S. backing of Israel in its war against Palestinian militant group Hamas. Quote, "Content promoting this letter clearly violates our rules on supporting any form of terrorism." TikTok policy posted on X, the platform formerly known as Twitter. They went on to say that we are proactively and aggressively removing this content and investigating how it got onto our platform. The number of videos praising bin Laden's argument is not large, TikTok said, despite some reportedly garnering hundreds of thousands of views and likes. So I would definitely love to hear your thoughts in comments below. Should these videos have been removed? What do you think about them? Obviously, it's very hard to support the mass killing of civilians. So for anyone to have been posting these videos and actually siding with bin Laden, well, I'm not really sure what to say about their sanity. Now, in some other news, of course, as I mentioned in the main title of today's video, unfortunately, Americans are losing thousands of dollars in Social Security benefits. We're going to be covering 4 reasons why in this video. So according to CBS News, the first reason here is claiming benefits too early. So this may be the single biggest issue impacting Americans, because Social Security allows people to begin collecting their benefits when they turn 62, or about 5 years before the full retirement age for most people. By claiming Social Security early, though, your monthly benefits will be shaved by 30%. People can also wait to claim Social Security until they are 70, when they receive the maximum payout, about 76% higher than at age 62. But only about 6% of Americans wait until they turn 70 to claim Social Security. So obviously, if you can wait until the age of 70, you're going to receive your max benefit. But as they say right there, only 6% of Americans wait until they turn the age of 70, and most Americans actually go ahead and claim it at the age of 62 whenever they receive their less benefit. Now, the second one, of course, on this list is the widow scam. So another mistake that can result in lost benefits is what Kotlikoff calls the quote, widow scam, which usually stems from poor decisions about filing for benefits that can lead to lower payments. One of the 12 types of benefits offered by Social Security is the survivor's benefit, which is paid to widows, widowers, and dependents of eligible workers. In the case of widows and widowers, they can file for Social Security payments based on their spouse's earning and claim as early as age 60. But sometimes people mistakenly file for both survivor's benefits and their own retirement benefits, although the Social Security Administration will only pay one benefit, whichever one is higher. The problem comes if the survivor's benefit is higher, because by claiming the retirement benefit at the same time, the widow or widower is locking in their retirement benefit at the age when they make that claim. That risks the person losing out on thousands of higher benefits they would have received if they waited until their full retirement age or even age 70 to claim their benefits. And then the other one, of course, is the earnings test scam. So another Social Security rule that can trip up older Americans is the so-called earnings test, which states that people who claim before the full retirement age and then continue to work will face a heavy tax if they earn above a fairly low income threshold. So in 2023, that earnings test is $21,240, which means people who collect Social Security before age 67 will get $1 deducted from their Social Security payments for every $2 that they earn above that limit. That often dissuades older workers from continuing to work after they claim, given that they fear losing a chunk of their income to this tax. But what isn't widely known, Kotlikoff said, is something called the quote adjustment of reduction factor, or ARF, which restores those lost benefits once the claimant reaches the full retirement age. So they say that a lot of people fear working or making too much money once they start receiving Social Security because they believe that a lot of this money is going to be taxed. But in fact, they actually get all of this money back after they reach their full retirement age. And then finally, the last trip up, of course, on today's list is the overpayment trap. So this issue impacts about 1 million Social Security recipients every single year and can cause financial hardship and stress, as reported by 60 Minutes earlier this month. This happens when Social Security overpays beneficiaries, who typically find out years later when the Social Security Administration sends a letter demanding repayment, even if it was not their fault. Sometimes the fault sits with the Social Security Administration, as detailed in this 2022 report from the Social Security Administration's Inspector General, that found employees sometimes enter the wrong information into the SSA system or incorrectly calculates benefits. The Social Security Administration also notes that overpayments can happen for many reasons, most often when a beneficiary doesn't report earnings or other changes that can impact their benefits. Now, imagine receiving a letter from the Social Security Administration one day saying that you owe them $5,000. Well, a lot of Americans don't have that money sitting around to repay the Social Security Administration, so obviously this is a huge pitfall. Now, to wrap up today's video, of course, yesterday, they actually ended up passing the government funding bill, so we're not going to have a government shutdown as we would have today. And the House Speaker, Republican, and Mike Johnson largely worked with Democrats to pass this bill to the House. I mean, there were more Democrats who voted in favor of the bill than there were Republicans, so it was pretty much a Democratic bill. And because of that, we have a lot of Republicans very upset with him. Now, the former House Speaker, Kevin McCarthy, did exactly this. He helped pass the government funding bill with largely Democratic support. And because he did that, he was actually booted from his role as House Speaker, and that's why we now have Mike Johnson. So you would look at that and you would say, well, Kevin McCarthy did the exact same thing as Mike Johnson, so therefore Mike Johnson's probably also going to be removed from his House Speaker role. And Kevin McCarthy was actually the first House Speaker to be removed from his role. That was the first time it ever happened. So it would be, very interesting if Mike Johnson was the second time it ever happened in the same year. But according to Politico, it looks like it's not going to happen. Republicans are not going to boot the second House Speaker. He's going to stay in his role, but they are going to look at other, avenues for revenge. So according to Politico, many House conservatives are fuming that Johnson, the most ideologically conservative speaker in decades, refused to take a hard line in his first attempt negotiating with Democrats and instead leaned on them for help. In the end, more Democrats voted for the measure than Republicans in nearly identical numbers to the September stopgap measure that triggered McCarthy's firing. Some tore into his strategy in a closed-door meeting on Tuesday, arguing that his plan, which would allow funding levels set under Nancy Pelosi to persist for months, is tantamount to surrender. They're not looking to oust Johnson over it, but some conservatives are privately entertaining other ways to retaliate. One tactic under discussion is the same one they used against McCarthy after he struck a debt deal they hated, holding the House floor hostage by taking procedural votes. Representative Ralph Norman, one of the House Freedom Caucus members, said, quote, "There is a sentiment that if we can't fight anything, then let's just hold up everything." So once again, Republicans not able to get along, at least in the House of Representatives, but Mike Johnson, at least for now, is going to keep his role as the House Speaker. So we're just gonna have to see how all this plays out. But as usual, let me know what your thoughts and comments are below. Would definitely love to read them, but that's all we have for today's video. Hope you enjoyed and found value out of it. If you did, again, I would greatly appreciate if you could give this video a like. Consider subscribing to my channel if you have not already, and I will see you in the next video.